As we reported earlier, Democratic socialists are celebrating another win in a key U.S. congressional primary ahead of the midterms. 29-year-old Malat Quiros defeated 15-term Congresswoman Diana DeGette in last night's first congressional district race. Senator Bernie Sanders, who endorsed Quiros, congratulated her on Twitter, writing, quote, "The tide is turning. Americans are tired of status quo politics." Last week, all three congressional candidates endorsed by New York City Mayor and Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani won their primaries. CBS News political reporter Zak Hudak joins us now. So, Zak, why are these candidates winning, and what's the party saying about it?
Lindsay, I think these candidates are winning for a couple of reasons. Maybe the biggest reason is President Trump and, in Democrats' views, the many corrupt things he's done while he's in office. They want to see candidates who will pull the center of Congress back toward the left, as President Trump, acting sort of informally as the House whip while he's president, has pulled it to the right. So if you look, DeGette's district is basically Denver. That is a very rapidly growing large city that has housing issues. So it has a lot of college-educated folks who are dealing with cost issues. I think that made a Democratic socialist that are more palatable there. But I also want to point to Phil Weiser, who beat out Michael Bennet for the Senate nomination there. Michael Bennet is a well-established Democrat, fairly liberal. It's not Phil Weiser is not a DSA guy, but he is, in fact, very progressive. And he basically ran his campaign on just how many times he sued President Trump. So I think it's these two factors. I think it's affordability and costs continuing to be really high for a lot of Americans, coupled with everything that President Trump has done and just how much that has offended Democrats.
Can we officially call this a trend, and what's their next big test?
I think, Lindsay, that we can call it a trend when we're dealing with cities. If you look more statewide, there isn't that same kind of strength. In Colorado yesterday, John Hickenlooper won the gubernatorial primary. He is very much an establishment guy. I think that he maintained a lot of relationships that he formed in the Senate, and he was unable to be flanked on his left. So when you look in the more rural areas, this really isn't much of a trend, and it's something Democrats are worried about having to counter the messaging in those areas. But in these college-educated, densely populated places outside New York, outside Denver, and in about a month here, we'll be having primaries in Michigan and Missouri with several DSA candidates. Those are the kinds of places where there is potential for them to really hijack the primaries and have an influence over the party's messaging.
Zak Hudak, glad you could join us.